Hello everyone, Flavio Carrasco, sales engineer with NetFoundry. Today I'll be showing you a demo on NetFoundry's identity first site-to-site connectivity. The most common pain points for site-to-site VPN stems from challenges like opening inbound firewall ports, which increases your attack surface for bad actors to exploit. You have mismatched parameters between two endpoints, preventing tunnel establishments. And then you have interoperability between vendors where IPsec standards are interpreted slightly different. And then you go about having issues with overlapping IP ranges between two sites where traffic cannot be routed correctly, leading to connectivity loss. Then, last but not least, you have change management headaches around the ever-growing list of firewall rules for every new site you have to deploy. And this list could go on and on and on, right? Imagine you're running critical services across Azure and AWS. In this case, I have a web service in Azure and a Windows server in AWS. You need to give a partner or customer access to those services from their on-prem data center. And usually this is where the configuration headache begins. But what if it's as simple as this? You spin up a router in your portal and share the secure key. Your partner or customer drops a container onto their existing COTS hardware and runs one command. The router auto registers and you're connected. From that moment on, you have total control to manage granular access with single click or a simple API call. Well, that's exactly what I'm going to demonstrate on how significantly simple this can be with our NetFoundry platform. And the best part about it is that you don't have to open any firewall ports, and all you need is outbound internet access on port 443, as just like the arrows designate here. So when you log into your portal as an enterprise administrator, the first thing you need to do is create an edge router so your customer could deploy the router on the on-premise, right? So what you do is hit plus. You create your router name. It's going to be customer hosted. Create, and it will generate the registration key. So now you need to share that with your customer. So on the top right, you hit share. You enter their email address, and once you share, they get notified. So in this case, I'm just going to hit copy. And this is what the customer is going to experience. When they deploy the VM on one of their COTS hardware on the on-prem, all you have to do is execute sudo router registration, the key you provided them, and then you can kind of start seeing the initialization process. It's downloading the binary, it's installing the binary, and then here in a second, it's going to show successfully registered or installed. Here you go. So registration is successful. Now the administrator, the enterprise admin, sees that the on-prem router has been successfully installed and registered to the network. But just because it's connected and authenticated does not mean that they now have access to all the services you have created in this portal, right? So what now you need to do is assign those privileges to them. So you would select identities, go to the identity that you just created, which is your NetFoundry site-to-site demo. And in this case, I'm just going to allow AWS and the Azure services, right? So once it's updated, it'll take a few seconds to kind of push the services to the router to allow. I'll go to my RDP console, and in this case, I'm going to go do AWS site-to-site. You can kind of see that I'm connecting pretty quickly from when I allowed the service to assigning it now to access it, to kind of see that it's logging in to my AWS Windows server. Now I'll just go to a new tab and go to my Azure Web Service. And you can now see that I was able to access both services in Azure and AWS. And if you want to kind of see some metrics, I go to that identity, I could go to my visualizer. So I could go to my AWS. Now you could kind of see the connectivity routes between the edge router you created to the NetFoundry hosted fabric to your customer to the endpoint, which was AWS router, the AWS edge router to the Windows service here. Now, if I wanted to remove access for the services I just assigned a second ago, just go back to the identity. I just remove them, update, and you can kind of see that it instantaneously removed the service from that individual. So we do a constant posture check. This endpoint was out of compliance because we were no longer allowing the service to AWS, and the connection was immediately disconnected. As you saw on this demo, we were able to deploy in minutes and not have to wait for days or weeks for deployment. You had, access to host services are easily assigned and removed with least privilege access and continuous posture enforcement. No open ports were required on the firewall, only 443 outbound, reducing your attack surface for bad actors from exploiting open ports and no chance of lateral movement. Yes, we do support the overlapping IP ranges without needing to configure or advertise routes, reducing the risk for unnecessary outages. And you don't have to worry about certificate expires because we provide automatic certificate rotations for you, eliminating any operational burden. And then you had deep visibility for auditing and troubleshooting within the console itself. And then last but not least, the optimized performance by NetFoundry Fabric smart routing features that you have access to. With that said, this is it for the demo. I appreciate your time and thank you, and stay tuned for additional recordings.